Elden Ring is chock full of content and quests, but there's some stuff that you need to not look past because it's definitely worth your time. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 quests you shouldn't have missed in Elden Ring. And number 10 is Iron Fist Alexander's quest. I'll kick this one off with the one and only. Alexander doesn't need an introduction, and most people probably manage to find him the first time outside Stormvale Castle, but at a certain point, most people probably lose track of this guy and never get the chance to actually finish his quest. You don't get crazy good rewards or anything for helping him out, but he's just so jolly and positive compared to, I don't know, everyone and everything else in the game.
Oh, my stars! I'm so happy to see you. I am Alexander, also known as the Iron Fist. And as you can see, I'm stuck here. Please, can you help me out of this?
So it just feels right to lend him a hand. One of the stranger things about this guy is his penchant for getting stuck in the ground somehow, and then needing help to get free. When you first encounter him in the hills of Limgrave, all he needs is a strong hit to the backside to actually free him. After that, you'll most likely run into him again at the Radon Festival, where he helps you take on the demigod. Next, you find him in Liurna near the Divine Tower, once again, stuck in a hole. Freeing him this time's trickier than just smacking him, though. First, you gotta throw an oil pot at him to grease him up a little more before striking him. Otherwise, you risk cracking him like an egg. From here is where the trail runs a little cold for most people. He says he's going to the mountains to get tougher, but actually finding him is like another story. The next place you see him is in the middle of this lava flow, a place he only appears in after dealing with the magma worm guarding the area. Talking to him grants the best reward for the whole quest, the pot helmet, so you can finally live out your fantasies being one of the Jar guys. Yeah. His final encounter takes place in the crumbling Farum Azura, where he challenges you to a final duel, which isn't particularly difficult at this point in the game. So you end up killing him, but he gets what he always wanted, a true warrior's death. It's kind of a tragic death for one of the most memorable and positive characters in the game, but get used to it. Nothing gets happier in a Souls game, particularly Elden Ring. At number 9 is the Sorceress Sellen's quest. Speaking of dark endings, Sellen! You first find her at the Waypoint Ruins in Limgrave. She's actually one of the very first NPCs who can sell you sorceries. For most players, she may seem like she's just an NPC that exists to sell you stuff and that's it, but she actually has one of the most involved quests in the entire game. She doesn't have a lot to say until you find this weird-looking guy up in the Hermit Village much later in the game. Finding him is actually key to continuing her quest for whatever reason. From there, she wants you to hunt down another sorcerer in the Celia Hideaway, a secret dungeon with multiple illusory walls hidden behind a cemetery in Caelid. From there, things start to get weird. You find out that the person you've been talking to is a projection, and her real body is in this place called the Witchbane Ruins. So you go there and take her primal glintstone, which apparently houses her soul, and follow along with me here. Find a secret passage to the Three Sisters, find a second secret room, then insert the primal glintstone into a doll made in her image. Now that she has a working body, she finally returns to the academy for the final showdown. Near the end of the quest, you can meet Witch Hunter Jaren, who is hunting her down, and here is where you're given a choice to either side with Sellen or the Witch Hunter. Taking Sellen's side seems like the evil thing to do, and it seems like she's taken over the academy, and Renala, the actual leader, seems to be gone from the Grand Library. If you leave and come back, for whatever reason, you'll find Renala back in her original spot and Sellen nowhere to be found. Well, actually, she's still here, but not quite in the same form. She's been turned into a big wall of wizard heads and can barely form a sentence.
My friend,
It's a bizarre end to an already strange quest, but the many sorcerers and costumes you get for doing it are absolutely worth the confusion you deal with to get to that point. And number 8 is Patch's quest, the one quest line that will constantly have you asking, okay, can I kill this dude now? Like, Patches is a serial backstabber. It's just what he does. And for most players, his story ends the first time he pulls one of his tricks on you. But for whatever reason, he keeps popping up again and again, and he never really learns his lesson or gets any better. It requires some serious patience to see this one through, too, but if you manage to avoid killing him the many times he probably deserves it, then at least you'll get to see his story and experience some of the more amusing pranks he pulls. Like, let's run down all the stuff he does to you. First, he ambushes you in the Murkwater Cave, then begs off and tries to sell stuff to you at inflated prices. If you open up the other chest in the room he tempts you with, you'll get teleported to the middle of the Mistwood Forest, surrounded by rune bears. If somehow you manage to leave him alive after that, he'll try to convince you to get captured by one of those Iron Maiden enemies. He tells you that they take you to the base of the Erd Tree, but actually they trap you on the Volcano Manor, and you can potentially get stuck there if you can't beat the 2 Iron Virgin bosses that block your escape. If you manage to get through that, he will lure you to the edge on Mount Gelmir and kick you off the side in a recreation of his original double cross from Demon Souls. And if you manage to crawl out of that pit, you can find him again in the Volcano Manor. After beating the boss of that area, he leaves and you can find him in the Shaded Castle. You probably kill him for good. There might possibly be more to his quest than that. Might just not be in the game yet. I don't really know. Guy's a cockroach, but he's an entertaining one at least.
Take care.
And number 7 is Blythe's Quest. There's few characters in this game you could call a companion. Like, there's Alexander, there's Blythe, that's pretty much it. Blythe is a guy who's easy to miss at first too, but he's absolutely worth hunting down. The very first time you can meet him is at the start in Limgrave. You hear a howl and then talk to the shopkeeper about it, and he'll teach you to snap, which if you do it at the Mistwood Ruins, you can meet up with the half-wolf warrior himself.
Who goes there? Carly sent you, did he? Ever the bloody busybody. Maybe to him you don't seem so strange.
As you continue through the game, you'll find he actually works for Ronnie the Witch, and their stories are closely connected, so if you're following with her quest, you'll eventually meet Blythe anyways. What makes him great is how he helps you out. Along with Alexander, he's one of the best guys to summon when fighting Red On. Sadly, his quest ends in tragedy like, so many others in this game. If you go through Ronnie's quest to completion and return to her place, you'll find Blythe outside. Without a master, he's gone feral and he attacks you on sight, and the only thing you can do is kill him to end his suffering. Taking him out will get you some pretty sweet armor, but again, like Alexander, his quest ends with you having to kill him. This game just doesn't want anyone halfway decent to get a happy ending, does it? At number 6 is Bach the Seamster's Quest, a really easy one to miss. It's also pretty handy to find if you want to make some adjustments to certain armor sets for free. Bach is found by Limgrave, by the telescope icon, but he is hidden because he's disguised as a tree, and if you attack it, you will reveal him. Now, what's so unique about this guy is that if you find the sewing kit, you can actually give it to him and he'll alter any of your clothes for free. Normally it costs runes to change armor, so it's a decent trade. This guy manages to follow you around pretty much everywhere too. Seriously, he shows up more places than pretty much every other character. Eventually you'll find out he wants to be reborn by Renala, the same way you can. If that happens, you're given the option to give him a larval tear, one of the items used for rebirth, but there's a second secret option as well. If you want, instead of handing over one of those precious items, you can instead whip out a prattling pate that says you're beautiful, and that seems to make him happy enough to drop the whole thing. It's weird, and a pretty hidden little quest line that you can go on all the way up to the point where the capital is a pile of ashes, and it's one of the few quest lines that starts all the way in Limgrave and can be followed up to the end game, so while really all you're doing is saving a few runes with this guy, it's still worth following his journey all the way to the end. And number 5 is Fia's Quest. One of the more mysterious people you can meet in Round Table Hold is Fia, the deathbed companion. Outside of giving you hugs and being mysterious, she's actually a key character to one of the endings of the game, and if you want to take on every major boss, you'll have to follow her story all the way to the bizarre and bitter end. It starts out innocently enough, sure. She gives you hugs in the hold, but after you get far enough into the game, she'll request that you give a dagger to Dee, the Hunter of the Dead. Nothing sounds that unusual about the request, but when you leave and come back, you find Dee dead on the ground, and after some dialogue, Fia leaves the hold. You can't find her again until much later in the game, at the end of the Deeproot Depths, when you first have to fight her guardians before you can talk to her at the foot of the Prince of Death, who's actually even more bizarre looking than the name implies. Don't know why, but he's got fish scales. Now, a whole lot of quests seem to tie back to Ronnie the Witches, and this one is not an exception to that. Following the story eventually gets you the Curse Mark of Death, which you can give to Fia. Doing so makes her fall into a deep sleep, which for some reason you can enter and fight a new boss, the Lich Dragon, which gets you the Mending Rune of Death, an item that can be used to unlock a different ending. Now, it doesn't end there because, of course, nobody gets a happy ending in this game. So if you give Dee's armor to his brother, he'll show up and get revenge by murdering Fia before disappearing himself.
The rotten witch is dead. The Golden Order unsullied. Now I can look my brother Darian in the eye.
Like, at least he leaves the armor behind, though. And number 4 is Dung Eaters Quest, and hoo boy, with a name like that, how could you not want to help this guy out? You first find him in the Round Table hold as a red spirit in a room that unlocks after getting to the Altus Plateau. You can't actually find the real him until you find an item called the Seedbed Curse. But if you do manage to find one of these things, he'll suddenly be a lot more interested in talking to you and request that you free his corporal form from his prison under the capital. That prison is actually the subterranean shunning grounds, and when you find him, he's constantly smashing his head against the wall. Seems like the kind of guy worth freeing, right? If you do let him go, you'll only end up feeling better about the decision as he gives you lines like this.
I will kill again and defile each corpse with care, just to be sure that when they're reborn, they'll be cursed, along with their children and their children's children, for all time to come.
Also, he wants to defile your corpse, so basically he's an all-around great guy, right? After that, he requests that you fight him in the moat outside the capital, and if you manage to kill him, the final part of his quest starts when he wants you to give him 5 of those Seedbed Curses, which if you give to his corpse bag in the sewers will unlock a new possible ending. Why anyone in their right mind would side with this freak, I don't really know, but it's an interesting quest line nonetheless. At number 3 is Ronnie The Witch's quest. It seems to connect with so many other characters, so it's likely you'll at least end up talking to her if you're a thorough player. There are elements of this whole thing that are easy to miss out on, but it also gets you one of the absolute best rewards in the game, along with a new possible ending, so this is one quest that's for sure worth finishing. Now, Ronnie is a character that you meet very early on. She's the one who gives you the spirit summoning belt at the start of the game, and it's not until you get to Liurna that you actually get to talk to her again, though. You have to travel all the way up to Caria Manor, you reach the Three Sisters to find her base of operations, and from there, she sends you on this elaborate quest to discover the secret treasure of Nokrin. And once you get it, you're sent to the Carian Study Hall, where you use an item to invert it in one of the more unusual areas of the game, get her curse mark, an item that's required for Fia's quest, on top of being something you need to continue this one. So, if you return to the Three Sisters, Ronnie will be gone, but the door to Rena's Rise will be open, and going inside reveals a portal that takes you to a new area of the Ainsel River. Don't forget to pick up this item called the Miniature Ronnie, which you actually have to talk to at a site of grace. This one's really easy to miss because you have to talk to her multiple times before you actually get a response. She eventually tells you to fight this thing called a Baleful Shadow. Now, it's basically an evil version of Blide, and it's no pushover, but after you deal with it, she'll give you a key you can use in the Grand Library to get this Dark Moon thing. Now, all you have to do is go through the Lake of Rot, beat Estelle, and take the elevator up to its cathedral. That's easy, right? There, you'll find Ronnie for the final time. Use the Dark Moon ring on her, and she'll reward you with the Dark Moon Greatsword, aka the Moonlight Greatsword, the weapon that appears in pretty much every From Software game, along with the option to get her unique ending. Of all the quests in this game, it's probably one of the most elaborate and story-heavy, so if you're interested in the lore of Elden Ring, it's practically essential, even though it's not actually necessary. And number 2 is Millicents Quest, another massive quest. This one starts out in Caelid after talking to a guy named Gowry outside the town of Celia. He basically wants you to get a golden needle to give this girl for whatever reason, which you can only get by beating the boss at the base of the giant scarlet rot flower in the middle of the poison swamp, so we're already not off to a great start with this one. In terms of challenges, it's actually one of the hardest quests in the game. While the actual rewards you get are either kind of situational or just not that great. So it's a quest line kind of for the truly dedicated folks out there. By using the unalloyed gold needle on her, she's seemingly revived and begins her journey. One of the first things to do is get a Prosteus from the Shaded Castle, and from there she'll actually be able to assist you in a few fights. Every time you meet her, she moves closer to the source of the Scarlet Rot, the Halig Tree. When you get here, you find out that she has some kind of connection to Millennia, and that she wants to return something to her.
I am of Millennia's blood, but in what capacity I know not. I could be sister, daughter, or an offshoot. Whatever the case, though, I am certain of a kinship between us.
It doesn't really tell you what to do past this point, but from here you have to go to this optional area and fight one of these crazy spirit tree monsters in a pool of scarlet rot, which is about as fun as it sounds. After somehow dealing with that, you return to the area. You can find 2 summoning signs, one to assist Millicent and the other to fight her. Assisting her, it's not easy. You have to fight off 4 of her sisters at once, but if you manage to do it, this whole thing's almost done. She removes the gold needle from her body and dies from the scarlet rot, which you can then use to reverse the effects of a completely unrelated ending if you want. I have no idea why they make backing out of doing something such a roundabout process, but if you want out of the Frenzied Flame ending, then helping Millicent's the only way. The Rotten Winged Sword insignia is at least a pretty nice reward for when this is all said and done, though. And finally, it's Byrons Quest. Added to the game with patch 1.03, this little quest line is one of the goofiest, but also one of the most tragic in the game. It starts really surprisingly early, too, as this guy you meet in the round table hold is a key part of it. Dialos sounds like a regal and powerful figure, but his character is really more of a coward. He starts at the hole, later goes to Volcano Manor, but if you kill the boss of that place, he basically has nowhere else to go and finally ends up in Jarburg, the humble home of the Jar guys. Alexander actually mentions he's from this place, but never returns to it. He gets pretty close, though. The second time you meet him, Jarburg is actually found just over the cliff. You'll have to platform down if you want to survive the fall, but if you manage, you'll find a town filled with non-hostile pots. Just don't touch their flowers. That's not something they like. But sitting near the checkpoint is a surprisingly talkative jar named Byrons. He's looking for a new potentate of the village, basically someone to look after the jars. And after talking to him enough, you'll find Dialos here helping these things out. He looks pretty out of place in fancy attire and even wonders if you pity him, but he seems happy enough living this strange and peaceful corner of the lands between. Nothing nice ever happens in Elden Ring, though. So if you come back enough, you'll find most of the jars smashed and Dialos laying mortally wounded, having died of apparently attempting to defend the village from poachers. Byrons pretty much the only one left alive, so Dialos did kind of a crappy job protecting the place.
But we're fine now. Dialos fought the poacher, though quite a lot of us got broken. I won't cry, though. I'm a warrior, Jar. A warrior.
But you can at least lie to him and say that he saved everyone before he croaks. After that, Byrons plans on leaving, and if you've completed Alexander's quest, you can even give him that guy's innards, which seems to make Byrons happy. All you really get out of this is a simple companion jar talisman that makes throwing pots stronger, but this is a quest that's more about the journey than the reward. Byrons like a really charming character that doesn't have the happiest ending, but I mean, at least this guy survives. In this world, that's about the best you can hope for. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.